It is hot as all fucking hell, so I have the air pointing down to my toes so you can hear me better. Going to the gym, gonna do arms today. Shoulders, bisexuals, and trisexuals. Ha ha ha, get it? And I'm gonna throw in, I did a bunch of posterior deltoid yesterday, 2 days ago, but I'm gonna do some shoulder activation stuff and then curl some shit and extend some shit. So I'll set up the camera, we'll take some video, and then I'll recap at the end. And maybe if you like these videos, make sure like, subscribe, put all the comments down below. If you like this style of video, I will do more of it. I got no problem with that. This is us. This is us. So here's a little rundown of what I've been doing for my training. I've been doing twice a week, every body part, pretty much doing an upper body day, but more chest and back, with a leg day, and then more of an arm day. However, I fluctuate between doing some more stabilization, multiplanar movements, doing a lot of single leg, unilateral stuff, and a lot of body weight exercises, but really more like technique oriented exercises. So today I'm feeling pretty good. I want to smash some weights. I want to really get some good angles and get some isometric holds. I want to do a lot of posterior deltoid, maybe some front raises. I don't do front raises all the time. Try to stay away from the anterior deltoid, just to bias towards the side and the rear, just because for aesthetics and just for overall shoulder balance, I like to keep it like that. I've been doing that for years and I love it. I also like to crush them front shoulder titties. So today might be that kind of a day. I will record, we'll talk, and yeah, today's gonna be a good day. I feel it. Let's go get it, fam. All right, so here is the dynamic warm-up that I'm doing specific to activate my middle and lower traps, my posterior rotator cuff, posterior deltoid, all that shit. And this is after I did my general warm-up. So I do a step mill for about 15 to 20 minutes before I start mobilizing and doing my specific warm-up. And this is one of my favorites. You can use this with dumbbells. You can use this with light plates like you see here. And this is just to really get all aspects of that posterior stabilization component in my shoulder activated in the shoulder girdle, the muscles that attach onto the scapula, and also the shoulder joint, that posterior rotator cuff. And here I'm just kind of messing around with some scaption, some side raises, just flushing the shoulders full of blood. I wanted to start with shoulders today and do a couple specific exercises, more mobility based. I wasn't trying to go super heavy. So it was more about feeling the muscle and just kind of getting my mind in the right place. Leaning side raise is great because you're going to get a little bit more of a contraction in the middle deltoid because of that angle. Usually if you are standing upright, you might hit a little bit more upper traps, but this gets a little bit of a different angle from the starting length when you are leaning slightly. So try this. You could do this with heavier weights, but this is just for me for a warm up. I really like it to build out that nice cap in my middle deltoid. This is a Z press. If you've never seen it, you're seated down and my legs are extended out in front of me. And this is a 3D Smith. So if you've never seen one of these, it's kind of on a track, but it's not. So the squat rack was taken at this moment and I decided to do it here. And it's nice because there's a little bit of resistance because of the stabilized component of the 3D. And I was just doing this more just to flush the shoulders full of blood. I wasn't trying to put on, this wasn't a strength design movement. I went in front of the head. I also went behind the neck, which generally people talk badly about. People knock the behind the neck press. Now, I don't think doing it with a lot of load is good, but there really is no wrong or bad movement that the human body can do. If you are prepared and adapted and trained for a movement, you can do a lot of these unique moves because of maybe your shoulder joint is shaped better or more open, or you have certain muscles activated. So there's nothing wrong with a movement if you are prepared to do it. So in terms of mobility, for example, you'll see after I do these prone presses, again, very similar to the previous warm-up, only I'm prone on the bench, which is getting my activation of my middle and lower traps. When you're doing that pressing upward motion, you're getting the upward rotation of the scapula, which is activating the lower trapezius. And this is very important when you're sitting down at a desk a lot, when you're rounded forward. If you have a kind of a hunchback, a Quasimodo appearance, that's because you're not activating these muscles in your middle part of your back and the lower part of your back. And you can see I push out to the sides, I push out front, I just kind of mess around. Don't feel like you have to be locked into one specific framework. So here you see the Z press, I'm going behind the neck. And again, This is not a free bar, so I have a lot of stabilization with the actual machine itself. So it allows me to lean forward and kind of get a unique pressing backward movement because it's a little bit controlled. So I was really feeling that contraction between my shoulder blades. I was really feeling that in my lower traps, and it was really getting me a nice, I can't, it's hard to explain, a real open feeling in my upper body. So I was not putting any weight on there today. The Z press were just completely with the bar only. This is my first working set. I like doing side raises with kettlebells. If you've never tried it, it really takes a lot of that momentum you tend to get with dumbbells because of that lower center of gravity, that hang position with the kettlebell. You have to control that weight. Otherwise the kettlebells will be flopping around and swinging in the breeze. So these were 30s. My gym doesn't have a lot of kettlebell variety, so these were the only pairs. So I would have gone a little bit lighter if I had the option, but dip board wasn't available. So I only did as high as I can go, really controlled. And then and I was doing partial reps. So once I couldn't do any more, dropped it, grabbed 10-pound plates, kind of simulated the kettlebells. And then without really swinging or anything, just push as high as I can. And if I couldn't get all the way up, I would go halfway and I would just rep it out until I was just gimped. And then I would drop it again to 5s and I'll do an isometric. So that's a great adjustment when you don't have maybe a lot of weights available. You can mix up the style of the contraction, the time under tension, and partial reps are a great way to do that. A lot of people ignore the fact that, shoot, you can get variety by adjusting what you do in your reps. You don't have to just do a full rep and that's it. You can deplete the muscle. You can blast the muscle with more tension, with adjusting where you keep that range of motion, where you keep that beginning and end of that rep. You can just do partial and keep tension on the muscle. So here I grab the 5s and I'm holding. I'm trying not to fucking drop them because it's heavy. It feels heavy even though it's only 5 pounds. And I'm thinking right now, trying to touch the weights towards opposite ends of the gym. I'm trying to stretch myself side to side. And you might bring your arms a little bit further forward. You want to make sure you're really feeling it in that middle deltoid. And holding. And with this one, once you can't hold anymore, try to go for at least 15-20 seconds without swinging. No swinging. Look at what I'm doing. I'm just pushing as high as I can. I can't even get up all the way. A couple. And that's just because I try to move really fast. And once you get 10 reps, then you can drop the weight. I don't even know if I did 10, maybe I did 7, 8, 9. I wasn't even counting. I was just pushing and then like, all right, I'm done. So that's a great finisher. And you can see I didn't have a ton of heavy weight. I wasn't lifting hundreds of pounds. I went from 30-pound kettlebells to the 10s and to the 5s. I did a couple sets of that. I don't really count my sets per se, but I usually do anywhere between 3 to 5 of an exercise in general, depending. Then I went into the standard classic barbell biceps curl. This is an absolute staple in most of my arm training, and that has been the staple in the growth of my overall arm development my entire life. So I don't necessarily do barbell curls as much anymore. I'm getting back into it more frequently, but this is really when I was trying to bulk, it was barbell curls all day long. A great way, in my opinion, to figure out where you should hold the bar is to walk up to the bar and just turn your hands, supinate your forearms and put your palms facing forward, and wherever those are, just grab the bar, because that's usually in a comfortable position. If the straight bar bothers you, you can go with an easy curl bar and get a little bit of that angle, but a straight bar is very simple. The less moving parts, the more you can focus on force production and getting that weight up. And of course, you're gonna have to stagger your feet. You might get a little bit of a shaking, but just because you're moving a little bit doesn't mean it's a cheat curl. If you're swinging like crazy, in order to get a negative, that's maybe only for advanced trainers. So make sure you're trying to keep yourself more or less stabilized, but soft knees, cushion the swing of the weight. Remember, you're lifting weight in front of you, so you have to counterbalance a little bit. So it's not you're not trying to be a statue. You're lifting some weights. You have to be safe. You have to counterbalance. So make sure that you are giving that dynamic effect to keep your body safe. And here I actually threw in a couple overhead presses just because the biceps do a couple things. The biceps flex the elbow, it also supinates the forearm, and the biceps actually flexes the shoulder, or bring the arm up to the front. So I decided at the end, I just felt like doing some presses and keeping some isometric, a little bit of tension on the biceps a little bit. The next exercise I chose to go into was bent over posterior deltoid, the cable raise. And these are very underrated in my opinion. It's great to do it with dumbbells, it's great to do it with bands, but I love the cables. I love the cable crossover for this. One of the things you want to make sure is you are
you keep a 90-degree angle in general from the humerus to the side of the body. Because when you keep that almost 90 degrees, that right angle, you're really going to get that posterior deltoid. Anytime you start pulling a little bit closer to the body, you're going to hit some other things. You might get a little bit more rhomboids, middle trapezius. You still will get the posterior deltoid, but you're going to get a little bit more from the long head of the triceps as well. You're going to get a little bit more lats if you bring your hands closer to the body. So throughout these demos, you'll see me move into a couple different positions. You'll see me step back and pull a little bit closer to my thighs and my waist, and you'll see me go forward and I go a little bit more perpendicular and I lean forward more towards the ground. Sometimes I round my back more to take out the lats a little bit. I fuck around in so many different positions. I want to find what works best for me, and plus I'm always assessing my body. I'm always assessing what feels tight, what feels a little bit maybe that needs to wake up a little bit more. Sometimes I will do some other types of rotation with my shoulder in order to hit a muscle a certain way, and sometimes I'll do pulse reps. Sometimes I want to go heavy. So it depends on my mood. It depends on what I'm feeling. After doing a few sets of the posterior deltoid, I went into standing cable overhead triceps extensions, and these are leaning triceps extensions. And you can see, just like when I was doing with the posterior deltoid, I lean forward, I lean back, I stepped out a little bit further, I stood more upright. I changed the angle with the triceps with the overhead extensions depending on how I feel and where I'm feeling in the triceps more that day. And then I did a little superset with hammer curls, and I don't normally do hammer curls anymore. I like reverse curls. I just felt like doing hammer curls because I did a bunch of sets. In this workout, I probably did 5, 6, or 7 sets with barbell curls. I just didn't feel like doing dumbbell curls as well. It felt a little redundant. So I was like, screw it. Let's do some hammer curls for the crowd. Curls for the girls, fam. I'm doing this for you. Get that good squeeze. And I'll play with this. I'll either bring my dumbbell up to the front, I'll bring my elbow to the front more to get a little bit of that triple action of the biceps, or sometimes I'll keep the weight in one spot and drag my elbow back to get a different type of contraction. So I play around with the hammer curls as well. I went back and forth a few times, maybe 3 or 4 rounds with the triceps. With this move right here with the triceps, always if you can, bring that starting position up on the machine. That way when you drop the rope down, you don't have to like squat or spin around. You can just let go and it's pretty much right there. If you can raise it, gives you some different angles too. So you'll see me do all sorts of things. You'll see me separate the hands at the end. You'll see me keep them together. I do all sorts of things because sometimes squeezing the handles together gets a little bit more of the inside part of the triceps, and sometimes when you separate, you might feel it a little bit different if you pronate or supinate your wrists. There's all these different little tweaks, these subtle tweaks that you'll learn, but when in doubt, keep it to the basics. Really, if a lot of these little tweaks and adjustments that you see me doing, you don't feel comfortable with, it confuses you, then don't worry about it. This is something kind of the instinctual training when you're in the gym and you are customizing on the fly, that comes with experience. So if you see me do something and you kind of feel something hurt in your body, you just thinking like, ooh, that looks like it hurts me, then it might very well hurt you and maybe you shouldn't be doing it. So I'm not recommending that you do exactly what I do in the manner in which I do it. However, this is what works for me, and this is the way my body is able to move and what I feel comfortable and what I like doing. So if you don't like, for example, the bent over dumbbell for the posterior deltoid in this position, if you feel this more in your back, if this bothers your knees, if you have other things that you're dealing with, then do it on a bench, do it with the cables instead, do it on a machine, do something else that will hit a similar muscle group. So practice yoga, practice mobility, and that's where a lot of the shoulder activation that will benefit you the most will come from. It's your mobility. If you have the right mobility, you'll have the right joint alignment and you can activate these muscles better. I also do like to do single arm preacher curls. And one of the reasons why I like single arm is because I usually train by myself. You can spot yourself with your other arm. I usually stay around 35 or 40 pounds. I love doing negatives with this as well. So it's really great to spot with your other hand, bring the weight up, and then do a real super slow negative on the way down. And I actually did a little bit of a round robin. I did posterior deltoid with dumbbells. I did single arm preacher curl, and I did some reverse curls here. I was kind of warming up, doing a little bit of a demo aspect of this. And there isn't always a 2 exercise circuit. I'm not always doing shoulder, biceps, triceps or something. A lot of times towards the end, I kind of, what do I feel like I need more of? What do I want to work on a little bit more? And I'll just grab something and lift it. But I know I'm crushing arms, and I know that I'm going to be, looking good in the mirror in that beard. I'm staring at my beard being like, yeah, beard. Yeah, you know it. No, I'm just fucking with you. This is a single arm isometric scaption. So I'm doing a scaption and then holding one as I'm lowering the other. And a scaption is doing a side raise essentially, but you're kind of coming to the front about 30 degrees and you're keeping in the scapular plane. The scapula sits on a nice angle on the back of the ribs, and it's a really good shoulder stabilizer. And again, I'm going back to the posterior deltoid. It looks like I'm almost leaning forward. You might look at this and think, man, my lower back hurts just watching it. I am driving my hips back so hard. My feet are flat on the ground. My chin's tucked in. I feel great. So if that bothers you, again, use a bench. So I did a little bit of a round robin, going for preacher curl, doing some posterior deltoid, doing some scaptions, just kind of messing around. But my rep range, it was generally not quite to failure, but I was keeping it more or less in a hypertrophy type rep range where I was doing anywhere between 8 to 10 to about 15 to 20 repetitions. So I was keeping it in that more of a higher volume type range, which is just the type of training phase that I was doing today. In general, that's what I've been doing for my entire career, is more bodybuilding. I'm not going as super heavy as I used to, but I'm still doing a lot of volume. I'm still trying to focus more on frequency more than trying to crush all in one workout. This is a great exercise. A barbell, either an easy curl or a straight bar triceps extension. One of the things I really like about this is you'll get that full extra contraction. You'll get a lot of that long head of the triceps because of that shoulder extension. You're trying to push those arms up. So you're going for extension to extend your elbow, but then you're also trying to push your humerus. You're trying to push your upper arm back up, and that really gets the long head of the triceps. What you will see is me arch my back and also round my back. And the reason why I'm kind of going back and forth, and you might be thinking, well, he's rounding his back, that's a bad position. I'm lengthening the lats. I'm lengthening the lats by rounding my back. And the reason is I was trying to squeeze my triceps a little bit more and take the lats out of the picture. The lats will also bring the arm back into extension.
So I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe. If you're not yet subscribed, go check out my podcast, Daily Swole Podcast. The link's in the description down below, but you can also subscribe anywhere: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Overcast, wherever you like to listen, you can grab the Daily Swole Podcast. So subscribe. I'm there every single day. And also check out my second channel, Daily Swole Podcast, for the live streams every single day. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this Swole Motion. Peace out. See you next time.
Whoa, coming at me like that, like whoa. Coming at me like that, like whoa. Coming at me like that, like whoa. Coming at me like that, like wish that I care, but I don't. And I swear, if you want, we can flow. Coming ready for the smoke. Murder she wrote, but I don't even dare. I got places to go. Coming ready for the show. Sacred the goat. We got royal affairs. We gon' win on the low. Coming ready for the glow. You taking notes, have a seat, take a chair. You may think that we